for, because I was thinking about just how much you could actually carry in your backpack, and at the same time I was thinking, would it be possible to actually create a sort of self-sustaining survival base just from what you could carry in your backpack starting from scratch? So the idea behind this is basically to create a base anywhere you like and have it be self-powered and be able to produce water and food to keep you alive for more or less indefinitely just from what you've got in your backpack. Sounds a bit mad, I know, but here I am with my Seaglide heading deep just because I've been here before recently for a little deep dive experiment, so I know what I'm in for here. And you drop down to about 1,000 meters, kilometer down, and then you run out of terrain in this particular spot on the map, which is in the sort of southern coastal area, not far from the land rendezvous point. And so I found this little crevice that I sort of scooted down. It keeps you out of the way of the ghostly leviathans. You can hear roaring in the background, up to a point at least. And ultimately you run out of land, as you do just then, and so there's nothing there, and you just get this sort of flat rock underneath the crater effectively, which is bizarre. And you can see a little friend's joined me there. So the aim here is to try and build nasty build a basic base module as quickly as you can, but as you see I have to go back up to the cliff face to do it, because you can't do it underneath. You've got to build your multi-purpose room actually on the cliff face effectively, but you can do it. And you can see there my backpack's pretty much full of stuff, and I'll take you through that later, but for the time being it's a question of survival against the leviathans, which I didn't actually manage the first time, so you'll notice my oxygen level jumps up oddly here, but you do find you can eventually get a green spot to put your multi-purpose room into. Get it built, get an access hatch on it, and then you're pretty much golden really, because you've got your base. That's it, it's there. So I just jump in, and of course I'm unpowered because I'm too deep for solar, and I have no fish to feed it because there are no fish at this sort of depth in this sort of area of the map, so bioreactors out of the question. So go nuclear, because nuclear reactors actually don't require a huge amount of materials. They're quite efficient, and I've got just one reactor rod that I'm sticking in there, and I'm fully powered. Bob's your uncle. So what's up next? Well, I'm going to need water, so you stick a water filtration machine in. Again, it doesn't require a lot of slots in your inventory to be able to build one if you've got your hab builder handy, which of course you will have for these purposes. So that's water and power taken care of. Obviously oxygen is taken care of. So now comes food, and so what I'm going to use here is an interior grow bed. Once I've got a fabricator set up, just in case I need it. You know, obviously you might want one later down the line. As it was when I did this capture footage, I realised I hadn't quite brought exactly what I thought I'd need with me, unfortunately. But that did have a happy consequence, which you'll see in a second. So I've got enough left for a grow bed as I'd intended. And I'm going to put a couple of Marblemelon seeds down in it because they only take up one inventory space. So a couple of those is enough to set your food production up and keep it going in a pretty sort of self-sufficient fashion. So again, that one worked out really nicely. So once that's underway, originally I planned to put a locker in, but I ran out of titanium. But I realised that what I did have with me was a couple of spare quartz, and with those I could produce an item of glass, and off the back of that I could then just put in a viewport on my multi-purpose room, and lo and behold, you get a rather lovely view of 3 ghost leviathans who are all fairly frustrated because you're bang up against the cliff. So they don't seem to be terribly interested in your habitat, such as it isn't. But you do get to watch them meander past. So I was quite happy with that as an outcome, even though it was a somewhat unintended outcome. Quite happy with them just hanging around outside. And so my thoughts then turned to the fact that, well, okay, you know, I can get down here, I can create it, albeit I'll get banged up by them in the process. Can I then get out again in one piece? And that was my next question. So can you basically escape them fast enough to get up to the surface, or otherwise back to a vehicle in one piece? So let's give it a go. Not perhaps my best timing ever. You see, there's this little crevice run. I'm just trying to sort of dodge them here a little bit, but I've got to go back up because obviously, you know, you've got an oxygen limitation on you here. Big capacity tank, you're fine. It's not really a major issue. So I get back in my little Death Star trench here and just run up, and you can see on the topographical map, it's rather nicely done that you can see. I can see myself going up through this little channel. So one of them gets a shot in on me, which isn't pleasant. It's at this point that I hit my air bladder and decided it might be easier, in fact, to just take me straight up automatically, in effect. So I'm looking down at my feet now, basically. It's pretty dark, and you can see my fins there, but I'm being pursued, basically. I've got 3 of them on me, and they're chasing me up through 400 meters now. And they are quite quick. They are capable of catching me, as this one's about to. But fortunately for me, I now hit the shallow water, and now they turn back. Finally, so off they pop, and I just float the rest of the way to the surface. So this is about the point at which I think, okay, so that worked. I survived, give or take. Can I take my prawn suit down? If so, can it get back up again? Now, that's a slightly different question, as you'll see. I think with this particular game, I didn't have the top-notch augmented thrusters on it, on the prawn suit. So I suspect it would have worked better with them. But as it was, I was a little bit limited. Now, listen to this bit. Now that apparently does come up from time to time, but it's the first time I'd actually heard it, I think, and I happened to have the capture running on the right time for it, which is quite nice. So yeah, it's a special greeting you get, and of course you are the only captain on the planet, so it's not hard to be the best. So anyway, popping back into my prawn suit now, and I'm just going to see what I can do here, because I'm going back down the way that I was coming with my Seaglide, but it's actually quite hard to see below you in the prawn suit. And of course, as far as I'm aware, you can't get an external shot of yourself when you're in the prawn suit. So trying to actually find the habitat again is a little bit tricky, because obviously I was in a bit of a hurry getting into it and out of it last time. So I'm not quite sure exactly where it is in terms of the wall. I know roughly what depth it is, but then I've got company around me as well, and they nibble about 15 of my health away every time they catch me. But the prawn suit is pretty tough, so it does take the hits better than I would, and there's the base. So obviously no moon pool, but I can just drop on top of it and pop out from there. So my prawn suit's not going to be overly happy with life, but there's not a lot I can do about that.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
So another side of what I was trying to do here was to see if I could make this a base that could actually sustain me out of my backpack by producing material that I held with me, and then obviously duplicating it in effect. So I can get water from the the filtration machine quite easily, and that gives me half my water back. So that's pretty solid. So I haven't had any water since I started this little adventure. So I'm purely reliant on what this machine can produce for me. So that's done its job, and I'm in pretty good shape water-wise now. But my Marblemelons have also grown at exactly the same rate as the water produces, so I can eat and get more water from them. And now I can replant the second one that I took with me and get 4 back on the next growth cycle. So actually, I should be pretty much self-sufficient at this point. As long as I don't do anything stupid, that should hold me. So, if you wanted to have a self-sustaining remote base that will keep you alive, just from a backpack's worth of materials, it's perfectly doable. So here I start my rather ill-fated attempt to get my prawn suit back to the surface. Now, as I said, I didn't have the augmented jets on it, so I think I was struggling more than I would have done otherwise. But of course the Leviathans are here, they're not very happy with me being here, and they're chewing chunks out of me. And so this time round I wasn't quite as fortunate as I was on my first escape attempt. But you could of course just build up from this base, take some more titanium down and build vertically straight up from it. So if you wanted to have an observation base on the cheap, then this is a pretty good starting point for one, because it'll get you set up down there. And once you're set up, you can of course build out from the base that you've established. And here I'm just trying to sort of fight these guys off using just the prawn suit's grab arm, which is hilarious, and it's dead. Now it's just me. So I pop the air bladder again, but this time I'm not so lucky because he's managed to get a good hit in on me, and unfortunately his friends are going to catch up with me because I'm a lot deeper down because the prawn suit dropped. So I'm not starting as shallow as I did before, which means that they're going to be able to catch up with me before I reach shallower water. So unfortunately, that marks the end of this video, but please do like and subscribe. Thank you.